Hello folks, welcome to Edupedia World and I am Abhinay Gupta. Today again we'll continue with the topic compromises, arrangements and amalgamation of companies. And let me remind you, for this particular chapter we will be referring Companies Act 1956 instead of Companies Act 2013 because these sections have not yet been notified for your 2016 May examinations, right? So, in our previous class, we had discussed the meaning of the word compromise, the arrangements and amalgamation. We had a detailed understanding of what they mean and the reasons why they take place. So, with this lecture today, we'll move ahead with understanding the procedures, the procedural part of how compromises, arrangements and amalgamations take place. So, to start with, we'll move on to section 391 to 393. Which is the procedure for compromise and arrangement. So in order to settle down with a compromise or arrangement, court's interference is very important. The company cannot do the entire procedure by itself, right? It is a legal requirement, and so the supervision of the court is very important. So when you know that there has to be an intervention of the court, how does the court come in? You will have to send an application to the court, right? Now, who sends the application? The application can be sent by the company, by the creditors who seek for compromises or arrangement, by the members of the company, or even the liquidator who has been appointed to liquidate the company before dissolution. So these are the four parties who are authorized to send an application to the court. Now, what will that application contain? The application will contain the entire scheme of compromise or arrangement. So with the application, you will also have to disclose the material facts to the court, the financial position of the company, the latest auditor's report, investigations that are pending with the company. These are the things that will be disclosed along with the application. And with the scheme, you will have the terms and conditions based on which the compromise or arrangement is sought to take place. Now, this application will be sent in order to settle with an agreement which is proposed between a company and the members, or the company and the creditors, right? And one very important thing is that the company, creditors, members other than the liquidator, even these three can apply for compromise and arrangement in case of liquidation also. So even if the company goes into liquidation, the right of the company, the creditors and the members is not lost. So they can also make an application to settle with the compromise or an arrangement even when the company has started to be liquidated. And there have been a case study on the same referring Rajinder Prasad Agarwal and official liquidator in the year 1978. So that was the case where the company, the creditors sought to undergo a compromise even when the liquidation of the company was under process. So once the application is made to the court, we move on to the next stage. Like this was the first stage where you have to send an application to the court, and then once the application reaches the court, you step on to the second stage where now it is the discretion of the court. The court will have to analyze and judge whether or not to step ahead with this procedure, whether or not to accept or whether to reject the application. So the stage 2 is court's direction to hold a meeting, right? So what does the court do? The court will have to understand and analyze whether the scheme is prima facie reasonable and workable. So if it considers that it is prima facie reasonable and workable, so it will approve the scheme. And if it considers it to be otherwise, if it thinks that the scheme is not very bona fide, it's not reasonable, or it will be a flop, it can't be taken ahead, it will reject the scheme. So for our class, we will consider the case where the court approves the scheme. That is how we move ahead with the topic, right? So what happens if the court finds that the scheme is prima facie reasonable and workable? It will approve the scheme, right? And it will order the company to hold the meeting of the shareholders or the meeting of the creditors, and it will give the direction for the same, right? It will ask the company to call the meeting, to hold it at the specified date and time, and conduct the meeting in the manner the court has asked them to do. Right? It is the direction of the court. And this direction of the court may be in contrary to the provisions of the Companies Act 1956. So now, since the matter has already moved on to the court, it is the discretion of the court how to take it ahead. There may be something specified in Companies Act 1956, but that stands overruled. Right? The decision or the discretion of the court will prevail. So with this, stage 2 comes to an end. So stage 1 was sending application to the court. Stage 2 was court's approval to the scheme. Now once court has approved the scheme and directed the company to call and hold a meeting, the company calls the shareholders and or the creditors to hold the meeting. In the meanwhile, what does the court do? The court steps on to stage 3, where the court sends a notice to the central government that this is the company that is looking for this kind of a compromise or an arrangement. This is the scheme, so what have you got to say on the same? So court will send the notice to CG, and then CG has to make a representation on the same and give it back to the court. With its representation, it will give its objections, its suggestions or comments, right? But although this is a mandate for the court to refer the case to the central government, but there is no mandate or no foundation with the court to consider the opinion of the central government. Central government may give its representation. Now it is the discretion of the court whether or not to move ahead with the direction of the court or the suggestions of the court. So here the procedure of the court sending notice and taking representation from the court comes to an end. And on the other hand, if we go back to the company has stepped into stage 4, where the information about the compromise and arrangement is sent to the members. So the company gives a notice to hold a meeting to the members or the creditors, and the notice will contain the directions that is given by the court. The notice will also contain the terms of compromise and arrangement, right, that the court has decided and or that the application did contain. It will also demonstrate the effect, right? It will contain an explanatory statement that will demonstrate the effect of the compromise and arrangement on the creditors, on the members, on the company. Then thirdly, the interest of every director and every manager or MD of the company will have to be disclosed in that notice, right? The MD can be in any capacity, a director, a member or otherwise. And then they will also have to state whether these people have an interest in the compromise or arrangement, and if they do, then how are those interests different from the interest of the other people in the company, right? And in case if the debenture trustee is also involved or is also interested, then the interest of every debenture trustee will also be accompanying the notice to the meeting. So the notice of the meeting will contain basically 4 important aspects. That will be the terms of compromise arrangement, the effect of compromise arrangement, the interest of every director, manager, MD, and the interest of every debenture trustee. And it is not necessary that you disclose these facts in the notice of the meeting. If you don't want to do that, or if there is any difficulty that the company faces, then company has a different alternative, right? So as per the section, the company can either include it in the notice, or else they can disclose a fact in the notice that these documents or these informations are available at the company's office, and that is for free of charge. So whosoever wants, they can go and inspect it during business hours. Now with this, stage 4 comes to an end. So if we recall the steps, it was the company sending an application, the court approving the application, the court sending a notice to CG for representation, and then the company sending a notice to the members for holding the meeting. So these preliminary processes come to an end, and then the final meeting is held. Now how are the decisions taken in the meeting, right? So we move on to stage 5, where the approval of the scheme takes place. So over there, the meeting shall be held for the members or the creditors whosoever have been called for the meeting, or maybe both of them may have been called for the meeting. And in the meeting, the approval of the scheme will take place. Now how is the scheme approved? So the company in this case, or the section, gives importance to only those people who are present in the meeting. But only your presence will not be enough. once you are present and you have to be active in the meeting. If you are present but still you are inactive, that is, you won't be participating in the vote, we will not consider you in the meeting. So the voting will be done, or the decision will be taken considering the votes of the members who are present and who are voting. And as per the section, the decision will be passed in favor, or the scheme will be approved only when the majority of the members who are present and voting are with the motion. Like the majority, more than 50% of the members who are present and voting will have to approve the scheme. And not only this, there is a second condition, that these majority members will also have to hold 75% of the shares of the company. They will have to hold 3/4 of the shares of the company. And again, it is not 3/4 of the share of the entire company, it will be 3/4 of the share among the members who are present and voting. Right? So the majority in numbers and 3/4, that is 75% in value. Right? That will be the deadline that you'll have to qualify if you want to get a scheme or an arrangement approved in the meeting. So let us consider an example for the same. So for example, we'll pick up CA Final May 2006 question. Right? So I won't narrate the entire question, but as per the facts or the given situation in the question, the members who attend the meeting were 200 members. The shares held by the member who attended the meeting were, it was 5 lakh shares, right, of rupees 10 each or whatever it was. The members who voted in favor of the scheme were 70 members out of 200. The members who voted against were 130. And the shares held by the member who voted in favor of the scheme were 4 lakh. So out of 5 lakh, 4 lakh shares were in favor of the scheme, right? And the shares held by the member who voted against the scheme were just 1 lakh. So in this case, will the scheme be passed? Because out of 5 lakh, 4 lakh shares, the people holding 4 lakh shares in number are with the motion. They want the scheme to be approved. So it is 80%. So will it be approved? Logically, yeah, it is 80% shareholders of the company say that it can be approved. But as per the section, it will be disqualified. The reason being that the shareholders in number are less than majority. Right? So as per the section, you will have to see both the conditions. Both the conditions will have to be fulfilled simultaneously. That is, you will have to have the number of people in majority and 3/4 of the value of the shares. So over here, the scheme will not be passed. So with this example, I hope it is clear with you people what the Act has to say. Right? What do they have to say with regards to the limit of the people, the limit of passing the resolution. So if we look back to the steps, what we have seen is stage 1, the company, creditor, member or liquidator, they give a scheme to the court. Stage 2, the court passes on an order to continue with the approval of the scheme. The court passes an order for the shareholders or the creditors to call a meeting. In the meantime, while the meeting is being called, while the company sends the notice to the members, the court sends the same notice or the same application to CG for its representation. Right? And then the meeting is being called, and we have seen the basis on which the scheme or arrangement or compromise will be passed. So with this, we'll close the lecture today, and for the next stages, the remaining 4-5 stages will be covered in the next lecture. So stay tuned till then, and till then, this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you.